Namaste everyone, my name is Shivani. I'm a third-year medical student at IU School of Medicine, and I was here for the very first camp, way back then. So I remember it being a fantastic time. They gave me a coloring book and I kind of sat in the corner and nobody really paid attention to me. And now I look back and I realize that that coloring book was probably all of our reading material, and nobody paid attention to me because I was 4. But the point is that I was there, and I had a great time, and since then have transitioned from sitting outside of class in my mom's lap to sitting, rolling, jumping, playing inside of class, to last year being one of the teachers, and then the kids in my class started calling me auntie. So this speech is really just a PSA that I haven't made it that far in my journey yet. Still coming as one of the youth speakers, and I thought to ask, if this sunk into the kids, if they understand that I'm not auntie, but I'm still scared of that question. So we're not gonna ask that question, but instead, how in the world did we make it 20 years? That's my question. Having been at that first one and now being here so many years later, what is it that keeps people so tied? I find myself, making a New Year's resolution just about every week. Things start with such power, oftentimes, and at no fault of the people who start the idea, but a couple days, a couple months, a couple years, 10 years later, sometimes that spark dims a little bit, naturally. But here, 20 years later, we've gotten stronger. And there's proof. How many people are here for the first time? So 20 years later, people are still coming to our camp for the very first time. It's not the core group that started it 20 years ago that is still coming and just having a good time and going. We're welcoming new faces and new families here. How many people, this is probably something that interests me a little bit more, how many people are coming for the second time? For the third time? 4th time? 5th time? 10th time? So, more than 10 times. So we have just as many people who are coming here over and over again. What is it that brings you here? Certainly it's not a 24-year-old talking at you. So tell me, what is it that brings you back? One thing that you absolutely love about the camp. Yell it out. There's something. Games. Food. Cabins. Food. Exactly. That's what brings me here. So imagine for a second taking 2 sticks and tying them together with a thin thread. Are you listening? 2 sticks, thin thread. Tying them together. At first pass, these sticks are probably the most fragile. When you just make one loop around those 2 sticks, you can pull them apart easily. In fact, there was hardly anything holding them together. The more passes you make around those sticks, the harder it is to pull them apart. Eventually, you make so many passes that those sticks are impossible to pull apart. Similarly, that's how we make connections here at this camp. These people who have come for their 3rd, 4th, 10th time, at one point were making their first pass at this camp. You go, you introduce yourself to someone, that's one pass. You play dodgeball together, that's another pass. You talk about our sessions, you discuss what we talked about afterwards, another pass. You have ice cream together, that's like 6 passes around these 2 sticks. That's probably like the strongest way to make a connection. And eventually, in the span of a day and a half, you've made so many passes with so many people. You've made so many connections just in your first time being here that I'll tell you what happened next. They went to the mandir on Sunday and they saw familiar faces. Their kids saw familiar faces. All of a sudden, this Balagokulam family becomes my Balagokulam family or our Balagokulam family. Then you start sharing your good news, you start sharing your difficult news. If for some reason you're not able to come on a Sunday, the next time you come, someone will say, hey, where were you last week? We missed you. And that's code to say that no matter how big our family gets, no matter how many sticks we've tied, and how big this network has gotten, your stick was pretty important. Remember that time at camp that we played dodgeball, we played that lock and key game. We miss you, right? You're a part of our group, and that is what brings you to come back, because if you're not here, you're missed. Everybody here is bringing something. And this Balagokulam family is so good at acknowledging that. And it's different if you were to come for the first time on a Sunday and make your first pass with someone in the 2 hours of Balagokulam. And make your first pass in the 2 hours of Balagokulam, and then say you're not able to come. Those sticks are still fragile, right? You haven't made that very many passes. But here in the span of nearly 2 days, you've made so many passes around those sticks and already built this connection, not only with other people, but with your family. You unplug. You have a great time in just a short amount of time. And that's what brings people back. Because in the span of a year, with all the connections you've made, you can't help but not come. This camp can't help but grow. These are the connections that we've made. And for me, 20 years later, I've built a family of a bunch of aunties who think I'm perpetually hungry. No matter how much I eat, I will eat and then they'll still think I'm hungry. I have a team of people who I've told to laugh at my jokes, even if they're not funny. Thank you, thank you. But I can say 20 years later that these 36, 48 hours are very valuable. And if this is your first pass, continue to make more. And if you've made several passes, continue to make more. We're here with a lot of new faces and always welcoming to make our family grow even further. So enjoy this camp, have a great time, make those connections, and we'll see you in class in Balagokulam. Thank you.